So we're starting to kind of wrap up various partial recounts and vote audits from around the country. One came in from Wisconsin, and it's absolutely hilarious. In Wisconsin, the Trump campaign paid about $3 million for a partial recount. Now, remember that in Wisconsin, the margin of victory for Joe Biden was about 20,000 votes. And the outcome of the recount was that Joe Biden gained 87 votes in total from doing this partial recount. So statistically, it changes nothing. Biden was winning before, and Biden is still winning. 87 votes when the margin is 20,000 doesn't really do anything one way or the other. But consider that Donald Trump's campaign paid $3 million for this partial recount. $3 million to find 87 votes for Joe Biden. That's $34,000 per vote that the Trump campaign paid. Actually, it would be Trump's followers who donated money for the recounts. They paid $34,000 per vote for Joe Biden in the end. Now, of course, the Trump campaign and Trump himself already have an explanation as to why the recounts aren't helping Trump. And it becomes part of the conspiracy theory. It's almost evil genius if it weren't so stupid and predictable, which is, listen, if you recount all of the invalid votes, all of the illegal votes, all of the fraudulent votes, then of course you're going to get the same results. If they counted invalid votes once and then they recount them, you're going to get the same result, which now brings us to, if they knew this, why did they pay for a recount? And there are two reasons. Number one is optics. And number two is they raised money for recounts, half of which was used to pay off Trump's campaign debt. Remember the fundraising emails that started going out right after the election saying, donate to stop the count or to start it or to recount or to file or whatever. The fine print was 50% of what you donate, 50 cents on every dollar, will go to paying off existing debt that Trump's campaign has. So you raise $6 million, you pay $3 million for the Wisconsin partial recount, and you put $3 million towards your campaign debt. And meanwhile, you insist, I'm fighting Joe Biden's cheating by doing this. It's like the perfect final scam, actually, against Donald Trump supporters. And this goes to something else that's very important. The right doesn't really seem to understand what voter fraud is. Or in other words, right wingers seem to think that elections could be stolen with actual voter fraud. Things like people voting twice, dead people voting, filling out fake absentee ballots and sending them in, that type of thing. So then they do a recount and the right wingers are wondering, wait a second, how it didn't change the results. The problem is that the real way you steal an election, this isn't news to many of you, I know. You don't steal an election with voter fraud. You steal elections with election fraud. That means gerrymandering in the first place. That at the congressional district level, removing mail sorting machines at the post offices to slow down mail delivery, to try to get mail-in ballots to miss the postmark date when you know that it is overwhelmingly Biden voters that will vote by mail rather than Trump voters. You steal an election by organizing voter purges of registered voters using algorithms that would more likely hit Democratic voters than Republican voters. You do it by closing polling places in Democratic leaning areas and sowing misinformation about where and when you're supposed to vote in those same areas. None of that stuff shows up in a recount. Now, fortunately, all of those methods failed to steal the election from Joe Biden. But think about the entire trajectory here. Before the election, it was Trump's going to win in a landslide. You had these hot take right-wing YouTubers saying Trump could get 400 electoral votes, Trump landslide inevitable, all that stuff. Biden wins. And so they say, oh, it was stolen. You have to count the votes in some places, stop counting the votes in other places. Remember that in the 96 hours after the election, you had protests going on at the same time saying stop counting votes and start counting votes. Then they say, well, do a recount. Oh, but the recounts change nothing because they recounted the illegal votes. So then let's file lawsuits, which they do. But then when the judges actually ask Trump's lawyers, are you alleging voter fraud here? In court, they say, no, we're not alleging that, because they know they don't actually have evidence of that fraud. So now they are on to the recounts themselves are bogus. Instead, we need audits of each vote. And we need state legislatures to send Republican electors, even if the state appears to have been won by Joe Biden. That's where we are now. That's how far we've come in nearly the month since the election. This will have some trajectory to December 14th when the electors vote, and then they'll come up with something new that will get us to January 20th. What it will be, I don't yet know, but we'll continue covering it on our Instagram page at David Pakman Show. Also follow me on Instagram for very boring pictures of my Thanksgiving. I'm David.Pakman on Instagram. One of our sponsors today is Magic Spoon. The reason I'm such a fan of Magic Spoon is they allow me to enjoy the delicious breakfast cereals I loved as a kid without all the sugar and without the unhealthy ingredients, because Magic Spoon makes breakfast cereal that you really can't tell apart from those tasty sugary cereals that we all know. But each serving of Magic Spoon has no sugar, 3 net carbs, and 11 grams of protein. So it's perfect for someone on a low carb keto diet, just anybody trying to eat healthier and cut back on the sugar. You can choose from cocoa, frosted fruity, cinnamon, blueberry, or peanut butter. They all taste amazing. And Magic Spoon now lets you create your own customized variety pack with the flavors you choose. They really do stand by their product and will refund 100% of your money if you don't love it. No questions asked. Go to magicspoon.com/Pakman to build your own custom variety box today. Make sure to use promo code Pakman to get free shipping. The link is right underneath this video.